AITA for refusing to trust my in-laws with my baby? I've been holding a lot inside for the past year, and it's finally weighing me down so much that I need to let it out. My wife, Demi, and I have been married for 4 years. We recently had a baby girl, Lavender, who just turned 1. Becoming parents was supposed to bring us closer together, but instead, it's exposed cracks in our relationship that I never saw coming. When Demi and I met, she came from a wealthy, well-connected family, while I, Jericho, came from a simple, middle-class background. I grew up learning to work for every single thing I had. Demi said she loved that about me, that my independence and drive were what drew her to me in the first place. From the very beginning, I told her I didn't want to rely on her father, Rodrigo, for anything. Rodrigo is the kind of man who likes to hold power over people. He's controlling, manipulative, and always wants things his way. I didn't want to owe him favors or ever be seen as the man who married Demi for her family's wealth. Demi always agreed and said she admired that about me. But things shifted when we started planning our wedding. Demi suddenly wanted a massive, extravagant wedding, one I couldn't afford. I wanted something beautiful but simple. She wanted something that would be remembered in her family's social circles for years. Rodrigo offered to cover every single expense. At first, I said no. It went against everything I'd told Demi from the start. But the pressure from both families became overwhelming. Demi cried. Her mother, Paige, tried to mediate, and my own parents told me not to start our marriage with a huge fight. In the end, I gave in, but it left a bad taste in my mouth. On the day of the wedding, I could feel Rodrigo's smugness radiating off him. Every time he gave a toast or introduced himself to someone, it was like he was silently saying, "This whole event exists because of me." I contributed what I could. I bought Demi beautiful jewelry with the savings I'd set aside for a modest wedding, but it was a drop in the ocean compared to Rodrigo's spending. That day, I realized that in his eyes, he had bought me a place in his family. Fast forward to now. Demi and I live 4 hours away from both of our families. After Lavender was born, Demi decided to go back to work just 2 months later. She said she didn't want to put her career on hold. I understood, but it meant someone had to be home with Lavender, and that someone was me. I put my own plans for graduate school aside, so one of us could always be present. Our moms, Paige and my mother, took turns staying with us to help. It's been exhausting, but I've tried to be supportive every step of the way. The trouble really began during Demi's pregnancy. Around the 6th month, Demi started spending more and more time at her parents' house. At first, it was just weekends. She said she felt more comfortable there, especially with Paige nearby to help. I didn't argue. I wanted her to feel safe and cared for. But slowly, those weekend visits turned into extended stays. Some weeks, I felt like a guest in my own marriage. Whenever Demi and I had even a small disagreement, she would cry and immediately turn to her parents. We had promised early in our marriage never to bring our fights to our families, but Demi couldn't stop herself. It hurt. I felt like we were a team in name only, and Rodrigo was always waiting on the sidelines to swoop in. One night, while we were staying at Demi's parents' house, we got into a small argument about Lavender's nursery setup. I thought it was nothing serious, but Rodrigo overheard us. He stormed into the room, his face red with anger, and began yelling at me. He called me selfish, ungrateful, and even accused me of not caring about Demi or Lavender. Demi just sat there, crying, silent, not defending me or telling him to stop. I stood there stunned, biting my tongue, waiting for him to leave. When he finally stormed out, I turned to Demi and told her I couldn't stay there anymore. I begged her to come home with me. She refused. My heart broke in that moment, but I packed my things and left alone. For 2 months, we lived apart. Demi stayed with her parents while I went back to our home. During that time, Demi reached out to me, but never once apologized for what had happened. Instead, she accused me of abandoning her and Lavender. The only apology I received came from Rodrigo, who gave me a half-hearted, awkward, "I'm sorry" during a phone call. Demi promised me it would never happen again. I agreed to move forward, but I made one thing very clear: I would never stay at her parents' house again. She accepted that condition without argument, or so I thought. When Lavender was born, things seemed to improve. Demi even admitted that she finally understood how much I'd done for her and our family. She said she regretted letting things get so bad. For a while, it felt like we were rebuilding. We were exhausted new parents, but at least we were united. But a few weeks ago, it all fell apart again. Demi and I had a minor disagreement about attending a friend's event. It wasn't even a big fight. She started crying, and like some horrible deja vu, Rodrigo barged into the room. His face was twisted with anger as he yelled at me, calling me controlling and accusing me of isolating Demi. Once again, Demi just sat there crying, saying nothing while her father tore into me. When he left, I turned to Demi and asked her to pack Lavender's things and come home with me. She refused. My heart sank. I didn't leave quietly this time. I called my mom and explained everything. My mom even got on the phone with Demi, pleading with her to leave with me. Eventually, Demi called Rodrigo to ask what she should do. That was the breaking point for me. She only agreed to come with me after Rodrigo told her to. On the drive home, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just disappointment anymore. It was anger. I realized Demi hadn't chosen me. She had simply obeyed her father. Since that day, say, I've kept my distance from Rodrigo completely. I let Demi visit her parents whenever she wants, but I've drawn one line I refuse to cross. Lavender does not go without me. If Demi wants to see her family, fine, but our daughter isn't going to be in a place where I've been disrespected and undermined. Demi brings this up constantly, at least once a month. She begs me to let her take Lavender alone, saying it would be easier and less stressful. I always refuse. It's become the main source of tension between us. Now Demi is accusing me of being controlling and of keeping Lavender away from her grandparents. Paige has been calm and understanding, but Rodrigo is furious. He's been sending me long, aggressive text messages. He says I'm punishing Demi and ruining the family dynamic. I've ignored his messages, but the pressure is building. 2 weeks ago, Demi and I had another huge fight about this. She said Rodrigo was heartbroken not seeing Lavender as much as he wanted. I told her Rodrigo had no one to blame but himself. Demi screamed at me that I was destroying her relationship with her family. Lavender woke up crying during our fight, and that sound nearly broke me. I held our baby while Demi sobbed on the couch, and I realized how deeply this mess was affecting all of us. I love Demi and Lavender more than anything, but I can't ignore the way Rodrigo treats me. He has humiliated me multiple times, and Demi has allowed it to happen. I don't trust him, and honestly, I don't fully trust Demi to stand up to him if I'm not there. A few weeks after my original post, everything spiraled into chaos faster than I could have imagined. It started one quiet evening. Demi came home late from work, looking completely drained. She didn't say a single word during dinner, barely even touched her food. After putting Lavender to bed, she sat on the edge of our couch, clutching her phone like it was burning her hand. Finally, with trembling fingers, she handed it to me without saying a word. The screen was open to a family group chat with Rodrigo, Paige, Demi, and several of Demi's cousins and aunts. My heart sank as I scrolled. Rodrigo had written a massive wall of text accusing me of isolating Demi and alienating her from the family. He claimed I was using Lavender as leverage and brainwashing Demi to turn her against them. Paige tried to defend us, saying this wasn't true, but her messages were drowned out by Rodrigo's accusations. Worse, several relatives chimed in, siding with him, saying Demi needed to come home where she and Lavender belong. I looked at Demi, and that was when she finally broke. She burst into tears, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Between gasps, she confessed that Rodrigo had been secretly pressuring her to move back into her parents' house, just temporarily. He told her it would give her space to think, and claimed that I was too controlling to provide a stable environment for Lavender. Jericho, she whispered through her tears, I don't want to leave you. I love you, but I feel like I'm being ripped apart every single day. My dad won't stop calling me, and my family keeps sending me messages. I can't take this anymore. Hearing those words felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I held her while she cried, but inside, I was boiling with anger. The next morning, I got a text from Rodrigo himself. This time, it wasn't filled with insults or rage. It was cold, calculated. Jericho, I know we've had our disagreements, but Demi and Lavender need stability. If you really care about them, you'll let Demi bring Lavender here for a few days. I promise to stay out of it. This isn't about control, it's about family. Reading it made my skin crawl. It didn't feel like an invitation. It felt like a trap. I showed the message to Demi. To my surprise, she didn't seem angry at her father. Instead, she begged me to consider it. Maybe if we go there just once, she said softly, it'll show them you're willing to compromise. It could ease the tension. Please, Jericho, just one visit. With you there. Every instinct in my body screamed no, but I could see how desperate she was. Against my better judgment, I reluctantly agreed. With one strict condition, I would be there the entire time, and if anything felt wrong, we would leave immediately. Demi agreed. When we arrived at her parents' house, Paige greeted us warmly, clearly trying to keep the peace. Rodrigo, however, barely acknowledged me. He hugged Demi and Lavender, beaming like the king of his castle, and offered me a cold handshake without looking me in the eye. The first hour went surprisingly well. Paige distracted Lavender with toys while Demi and I sat in the living room. I let myself hope, foolishly, that maybe this visit wouldn't explode. Then, while Demi was in another room with Paige, Rodrigo asked me to help him in the kitchen. The moment we were alone, his entire demeanor changed. His face hardened, his voice dropped to a menacing whisper. You'll never be good enough for my daughter, he hissed. The only reason I tolerate you is because of Lavender. If you ever take her away from this family, Jericho, you will regret it. His words sent a chill down my spine. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I didn't respond. I just walked past him, scooped up Lavender, and told Demi we were leaving now. She didn't argue. She could see the look on my face and knew something had happened. On the drive home, I told Demi everything Rodrigo had said. She went completely silent. After a long pause, she whispered, "I believe you." When we got home, Demi sat down and wrote a long, heartfelt message to Rodrigo. She told him that until he could respect me as her husband and father to Lavender, he would no longer see either of them. She said she loved him but could no longer allow him to interfere with our marriage. Rodrigo's reaction was explosive. Within minutes, he sent back a series of furious texts accusing Demi of betrayal. Then, he went on Facebook and posted a long, dramatic status about losing his daughter to a manipulative outsider. Though he didn't mention my name directly, everyone knew who he was talking about. Almost immediately, Demi and I were bombarded with messages. Some relatives offered their support. Others attacked us viciously, calling me a liar and accusing Demi of being ungrateful. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I had to turn off notifications just to think straight. Demi was devastated. Paige came to our house the next day, visibly upset. She hugged Demi tightly and told her she was proud of her for standing up for herself, but I could see the pain in her eyes too. She loves Rodrigo, despite everything, and she's caught in the middle of this mess. Things only got worse when Rodrigo showed up unannounced a few days later. He pounded on our door, yelling for Demi to let him in. Lavender started crying hysterically. I refused to open the door. Demi stood beside me, shaking, tears streaming down her face as she told her father to leave. Eventually, Paige managed to get him to go home, but the damage was done. Our neighbors stared as Rodrigo stormed away, shouting threats about taking us to court for grandparent rights. That night, Demi made a decision. She blocked Rodrigo's number and unfriended him on social media. She told me she was terrified, but she couldn't keep living in fear of her father's wrath. We decided to start couples counseling, hoping to rebuild trust and learn how to navigate this situation together. The first few sessions were rough. Demi admitted that part of her still feels guilty for hurting her family, while I confessed how angry and betrayed I felt for years. There were tears, shouting, and even moments where I wondered if our marriage could survive. But slowly, painfully, we began to heal. Demi started standing up for me in small ways, like correcting relatives when they criticized me or refusing to answer Rodrigo's passive-aggressive group texts. Paige continued to visit often, offering quiet support and love for Lavender. Still, the tension lingers. Rodrigo hasn't seen Lavender in weeks, and every day that passes, his anger grows. Some of Demi's extended family refuses to speak to us now. At gatherings, I know they talk about us behind our backs. Despite all of this, for the first time in a long time, Demi and I feel like a united team. Our home is quieter. Lavender laughs more, free from the stress and shouting that used to fill the air. I don't know what the future holds. Rodrigo's threats about legal action hang over us like a dark cloud. Maybe one day he'll calm down. Maybe he won't. But for now, I've made my choice. I will protect my daughter's peace and my marriage, no matter what it costs, even if it means standing alone against Rodrigo and his entire family.
You are not the AITA. From the beginning, you approached marriage with integrity, making it clear you didn't want to be indebted to Rodrigo. That principle wasn't rooted in pride alone. It was about ensuring your relationship with Demi stood on equal ground. Over time, however, Rodrigo repeatedly used wealth and authority to dominate your household decisions, while Demi often leaned on his voice instead of protecting the partnership you both vowed to nurture. These choices weren't neutral mistakes, they weakened the foundation you were trying so hard to preserve. My insight: Rodrigo's hostility toward you was not just about money or class. It was about dominance. He wasn't satisfied with offering support, he expected lifelong control. His behavior during arguments, barging in, hurling accusations, and undermining you in front of Demi, reveals a pattern of intimidation designed to erode your confidence. Demi's reluctance to confront him earlier wasn't simple avoidance. It was an ingrained response to years of manipulation, where her father's approval outweighed her own judgment. That legacy became the third participant in your marriage, one you never invited but constantly had to battle. My suggestion: protecting Lavender from that toxic influence is not controlling, it's responsible. Children absorb tension even when they can't understand the words, and Rodrigo's outbursts create an environment of fear. Standing firm about accompanying your daughter during visits is a safeguard, not a punishment. Counseling is the right step because it forces both you and Demi to untangle personal loyalty from marital commitment. She needs to learn that drawing boundaries with her father isn't betrayal, it's an act of love for her new family. Meanwhile, you need space to express the frustration and hurt caused by years of being dismissed. Neither of you can heal unless those truths are spoken openly and consistently. My joke: if marriage is supposed to be a duet, Rodrigo has been treating it like karaoke night, where he grabs the mic, cranks up the volume, and drowns everyone else out. You tried harmonizing, but eventually, you realized the only way to save the song was to cut the mic cable. It's not sabotage, it's sound management. Final judgment: you are not the AITA. Rodrigo's pattern of interference, fueled by wealth and ego, created chaos that no partner should be expected to endure. Demi's slow shift toward supporting you shows that the problem was never your unwillingness to compromise, it was her father's refusal to respect your role as husband and father. By standing your ground, refusing to expose Lavender to repeated hostility, and seeking counseling to rebuild trust, you have acted with strength, clarity, and care. You are not isolating Demi, you are safeguarding your family's future. Rodrigo may try to paint you as the villain, but the truth is plain. Your commitment to peace is not cruelty, it's courage. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments.
AITA for considering ending my friendship because of my friend's choices? I, 26F, have been holding a lot inside for months, and it's finally wearing me down. My close friend, Madeline, and I have known each other for years. We were inseparable, always leaning on each other through everything. We shared secrets, dreams, and fears. She knew me better than anyone else, and I thought I knew her just as well. But over the past year, her behavior has made me question whether our friendship can survive, or even if I want it to. It all started after her breakup in June. Madeline had been seeing someone seriously for the first time, and when it ended, she leaned on me heavily. I was there for her. I'd drop what I was doing to come over, stay up late listening to her vent, even skip assignments or work commitments to make sure she didn't feel alone. I wanted to support her. I truly did. I thought that's what friends do, but slowly, I realized it wasn't just about helping her get through a hard time. It was about control, attention, and a need to feel like she was always the center of someone's world. Almost immediately after the breakup, Madeline joined a dating app. She told me it was just for fun, a way to lift her spirits. I shrugged it off at first, but soon I noticed a pattern. She was seeing a stream of guys, one after another, 18 different ones within 2 months. Every day, she would message me about who she had met, what they had said, what they had done, every text she received, every gift she got, every compliment she managed to extract. She would brag openly about how she could lead men on without them ever realizing it. I tried to tell her this wasn't healthy. I explained how it made me uncomfortable, that it felt manipulative, and that it wasn't fair to the people involved. She didn't want to hear it. She insisted she was just having fun, and any concern from me was jealousy, controlling, or judgmental. I tried to explain that my worry wasn't about envy, but about the ethics and emotional consequences of her actions. She would cry, argue, and call me uptight. It was exhausting. Our hangouts, which had always been easy and carefree, began to feel like competitions. If we went out somewhere and dressed up, she would make sly comments about my outfit, subtly comparing herself to me. Sometimes, she would ask me to tone it down and dress casually, only to show up looking flawless, perfectly put together. She would smile, almost smugly, and I felt small beside her. Nothing I did ever seemed enough. Even when I tried to compliment her, she would twist it, saying it sounded fake or patronizing. The breaking point came when she started seeing Finnegan, a young man who had just turned 18. Madeline is 26. From the moment I learned this, a knot formed in my stomach. I felt uneasy, uncomfortable, and even alarmed. I told her plainly how wrong it felt, how inappropriate it was, and how it could hurt people. She immediately turned it around, saying my relationship with Damien, who is 30, was somehow just as bad. I tried to explain the difference, but she refused to listen. Every argument dissolved into tears, guilt-tripping, and defensiveness. Then, the drama escalated further. Finnegan's ex, a 17-year-old girl, started messaging Madeline. Instead of ignoring it, Madeline engaged. She argued, teased, and plotted with me as her only witness, trying to strategize how to win against this teenager. I found myself trapped in a situation I never wanted to be in. I felt uncomfortable, uneasy, and entirely powerless. I didn't recognize the person she had become. I tried repeatedly to set boundaries. I told her I couldn't be part of every late-night text thread, every complaint about men she was seeing, every petty argument with teenagers she had no business involving. I told her I needed space, that I couldn't participate in this anymore. Each time, she cried, yelled, or accused me of abandoning her. She said I was judgmental, controlling, unsupportive, and that I didn't understand her. I felt trapped. Every choice I made either upset her or made me feel guilty for stepping back. Months went by like this. I kept trying, hoping things would change. I suggested counseling or support groups for heartbreak, tried to redirect her energy into hobbies or self-growth, but every attempt fell flat. Within days, she would return to the same pattern, bragging about Finnegan, belittling me with comparisons, making every outing a subtle competition, and defending choices I found morally or ethically troubling. I reached a breaking point. One evening, after a particularly intense argument about her messaging Finnegan during our dinner plans, I told her I couldn't continue our friendship if things didn't change. I explained that I loved her as a friend, but I couldn't watch her manipulate and hurt others, including herself, while I carried the emotional weight. She begged me not to end it, swearing she would do better, promising she would try. But within days, the same patterns resumed. Her behavior started affecting my other relationships. Damien noticed I was increasingly stressed, anxious, and withdrawn. I found myself constantly distracted, checking messages, worried about the next drama, anticipating the next argument. I couldn't focus on work, hobbies, or even simple daily tasks. I was spiraling emotionally, and I realized that if I didn't step away, I would lose more than just my peace of mind. I could lose myself entirely. I started to distance myself more deliberately. I stopped coming over spontaneously, limited our texting, and focused on my own life and my relationship with Damien. Madeline noticed immediately. She confronted me, her eyes filled with a mixture of hurt and anger. She accused me of abandoning her, being jealous, and not caring. I explained calmly, as many times as I could, that it wasn't about jealousy. It was about protecting my emotional health, about maintaining boundaries that kept me sane. She refused to accept it. Our conversations grew tense, even hostile at times. Mutual friends started noticing the strain, and inevitably, some took sides. Some defended Madeline, saying I was overreacting, that I was too controlling or insecure. Others expressed concern for me, but I felt more isolated than ever. Madeline's social circle grew larger, and I watched from the sidelines as she surrounded herself with people who reinforced her behavior instead of challenging it. The fights became louder, the text messages longer, and the guilt trips heavier. She would call me in the middle of the night crying, only to start comparing herself to me or asking why I couldn't just let her be happy. I tried to explain that happiness shouldn't come at the expense of ethics, respect, or my own well-being, but the words fell on deaf ears. She gaslight, rationalized, and twisted every concern I had into criticism of my character. At one point, she invited me to a group hangout, which included Finnegan and a few of his friends. I hesitated but agreed, hoping we could reconnect. Within minutes, I realized I was the outsider. She whispered jokes about me to him, compared me to him, and subtly belittled me while smiling at the others. I left feeling humiliated, heartbroken, and more certain than ever that our friendship had become toxic. Every attempt to salvage what we had ended in exhaustion, tears, and emotional turmoil. I began to question if I had ever truly known her or if I had only known the version of her I wanted to see. Every memory of our closeness now felt tainted by manipulation, defensiveness, and drama. I am stuck in a limbo where I still care for her, but I cannot let her choices continue to harm me. Every conversation is a minefield, every message a potential argument, every meeting a test of my patience. I have considered stepping away entirely, but the thought of losing her, losing the friend I once cherished, is agonizing. I don't know how much longer I can continue like this. Every day feels like a balancing act between protecting myself and not completely abandoning someone I love. And yet, I feel that if I don't take a firm stand soon, I may lose not only my peace of mind, but also my sense of self. A few weeks after I posted my initial feelings about the situation, things escalated in a way I never could have anticipated. One evening, Madeline came over to my apartment. From the moment she walked in, I could tell something was wrong. She moved quietly, avoided eye contact, and didn't speak a word during dinner. The usual warmth and familiarity between us felt completely absent. After the meal, she placed her phone in front of me on the table, still saying nothing. I glanced at it and saw a group chat open between her, Finnegan, and several mutual friends. My heart sank. Finnegan had sent a long message accusing me of trying to sabotage their happiness and poisoning Madeline against the people who care about her. His tone was cold, calculated, and subtle, but it carried a threat disguised as concern. Madeline's responses were a mixture of frustration and tears. She was clearly caught in the middle, torn between loyalty to me and loyalty to him. My stomach churned. I realized this wasn't just about the age difference or her choices anymore. There was manipulation happening, and I was powerless to stop it unless I acted. That night, I confronted Madeline. I tried to keep my voice calm, but inside I was shaking. "Madeline, what's happening? What is he saying to you?" I asked. She broke down instantly, tears streaming down her cheeks. He says you're too negative, that I need to focus on him, that I should stop spending so much time with you," she whispered, barely able to form the words. "I don't want to lose you, but it's so hard." Her hands trembled as she wiped her face. She sounded scared, vulnerable, and exhausted, and my heart ached. I wanted to help her, but I also knew I couldn't let her be pulled into this toxicity. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Finnegan. My hands shook slightly as I opened it. The words were polite, almost unnervingly calm. "Listen, I'm not trying to hurt you, but Madeline is happier when she's focused on me. If you really care about her, you'll back off. Give her space. She needs this time." I didn't reply. Instead, I showed the message to Madeline. She clutched the phone like it was a a lifeline and begged me to consider his perspective. She framed it as a test of trust and a demonstration of our friendship's strength. Against my instincts, I agreed to a compromise. She could spend more time with him, but I would still be involved in her life, attend key moments, and make sure she was okay. I wanted to believe it would work. At first, it seemed fine. We tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but Finnegan's influence began creeping in immediately. He started texting her constantly during our hangouts, leaving subtle comments that criticized my behavior, questioned my intentions, and planted seeds of doubt. Soon, Madeline started canceling plans with me without explanation. When I asked why, she cried and apologized, saying she didn't want to upset anyone. It became a pattern. She felt guilty, I felt powerless, and Finnegan gained more control over how she saw our friendship. One afternoon, an accidental glance at her phone revealed a message that made my chest tighten. "If you ever choose her over me, you'll regret it." I felt my stomach drop. This was no longer simply a problem of mismatched priorities. It had become emotional manipulation, and I feared for her ability to recognize it. I confronted her again that evening, my voice trembling. "Madeline, I can't keep watching this happen. He's manipulating you. You need to see that. This isn't healthy for either of us." Her response was explosive. "Why are you making everything about yourself?" she shouted, pacing the room. "Why can't you just let me live my life? I'm allowed to make my own decisions." She stormed out, leaving me sitting on the couch, stunned and heartbroken. The apartment felt unbearably empty, and for the first time in years, I didn't know if she would come back. The following week was a nightmare of tension. Mutual friends began messaging me. Some accused me of overreacting, some defended me, others expressed confusion. Rumors began to spread about our falling out, and I could feel the weight of judgment pressing down on me. Meanwhile, Madeline seemed increasingly distant, responding to my messages late or ignoring them entirely. Every attempt to reconnect was met with avoidance, tears, or defensiveness. Then came the worst night. I received a frantic text from Madeline. "He's threatening to leave me if I don't stop talking to you. I don't know what to do." My heart pounded. I called her immediately, but she refused to answer. When she finally picked up, her voice was low, panicked. "Finnegan, he said I can't be friends with you anymore. He says I have to choose. I don't want to, but I don't know how to tell him no." My chest tightened with a mixture of anger, fear, and sadness. This wasn't just about friendship anymore. It was about her being coerced, and I couldn't protect her while respecting her autonomy. I made a decision that night. I sent her a long, heartfelt message, laying out everything, how much I loved her, how I couldn't continue a friendship that caused me constant stress and anxiety, and that I needed to step back for my own well-being. I told her that I hoped she could make healthy choices and see the manipulation for what it was, but that I could no longer be the emotional buffer between her and someone actively undermining her. Her reply was brief. She apologized, but still defended her choices and rationalized her actions. I didn't respond. The silence was unbearable, but necessary. I needed to preserve my mental health, even if it meant leaving her to navigate the chaos alone. Several weeks have passed since then. The tension has quieted externally. Madeline is still seeing Finnegan, and I've begun focusing more on my own life, on Damien, on work, and on regaining the sense of peace that had been lost.
You are not the AITA. Your account reveals persistence, compassion, and patience beyond what many would reasonably sustain. You did not abandon Madeline abruptly. You carried her grief, absorbed her turbulence, and extended countless chances for change. The gradual unraveling of your friendship was not caused by malice on your part but by her refusal to respect limits, her fixation on validation, and her tolerance of manipulation from Finnegan. It is natural to mourn the bond you once valued, but mourning is not the same as wrongdoing. My insight: what you experienced is a collision between loyalty and survival. Madeline sought a safety net but demanded it at the cost of your stability. Friendships cannot thrive when reciprocity disappears, when one party drains energy and the other continually sacrifices balance. Her dismissiveness of your concerns about ethics, her competitive jabs, and her willingness to triangulate Finnegan against you demonstrate a shift from companionship to exploitation. While you once provided her comfort, she began to view you as an accessory to her self-image, not an equal partner in trust. My suggestion: distance is not betrayal, it is boundary maintenance. By withdrawing, you are protecting your own identity, your relationships, and your well-being. A healthier route would involve refusing to engage in her cycles of drama, preserving clarity about what you will and will not accept, and resisting pressure to re-enter toxic patterns. If she ever seeks reconciliation, it should only happen after clear acknowledgement of harm and a demonstrated willingness to grow. Until then, you owe her nothing beyond quiet compassion from afar. My humor: friendships are supposed to feel like co-piloting a car, navigating together, adjusting the radio, splitting snacks. With Madeline, it became like sitting in the passenger seat while she sped through red lights, texting teenagers, and asking if your terrified expression was jealousy. Eventually, you had to unbuckle, step out, and wave as the car screeched off, not because you didn't care, but because you weren't ready to become roadkill. Final judgment: you are not the AITA. You tried tirelessly to guide, support, and protect, but she prioritized chaos and control over mutual respect. Her choices, entangling with someone much younger, enabling manipulation, disregarding boundaries, created an environment no healthy friendship could survive. By walking away, you demonstrated courage, self-awareness, and responsibility. Protecting your peace is not abandonment, it is self-preservation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for banning my sister's baby from my wedding. Click here to watch it now.